What's up, guys? Mason the Brock Henderson here. So, this is Punisher Season 2, Episode 12, Collision Course. Oh my god! Oh, this is, best episode of the season. Feels so good. She's finally dead. Although I'll admit, I was kind of hoping the fight between her and Madani was gonna be a little bit, quicker, because I kind of feel like she's just a therapist. Would she really know how to fight? Madani is Homeland Security agent. I feel like she should easily kick her ass. But they gotta make it all intense, and they gotta make sure it's not just an easy fight. Cause you gotta worry for Madani for a second. I'm more worried about her fight with Russo, cause that one actually is gonna be difficult. And I don't like the fact that she gets the drop on Madani means that it's not gonna be that easy of a fight. So I get it. It throws her off a little bit because she gets stabbed with the scissors, but it still felt like she was not doing well in the fight against her, even after that initial jumping at her. So I don't know. I just feel like Dumont should not be able to hold her own against a Homeland Security agent unless she had a secret backstory that we'll never find out about because she's dead. But I don't care anymore because she's dead. So woo, she's gone. Anyways, yeah. So obviously a good way to end the episode for me, at least. The rest of it is just kind of building up the rest of the characters, aside from Frank, their stories and how, kind of where they're going to be at the end. Because Frank, the one thing that he does in this episode, he finally finds David Schultz, the Schultz's kid, who's the senator, who's being blackmailed apparently. And I was kind of curious to see how much of what's going on did he know. And it really seems like he doesn't know what his parents are doing and the killer that they hired. He doesn't know much about that stuff. It appears. So, but at the same time, he has a sense of what his parents are capable of because he says, no, they wouldn't. So, he at least knows, who is responsible for everything happening. But I don't know how much he knows. I wish we could have gotten a bit more of a sense of how deep does his knowledge go of his parents' operation and what they're doing. So, that's the only thing, but aside from that, everything was really exciting. Aside from the one scene with Russo and Dumont, where she's basically like, "Oh, is it not enough for you? Why is it not enough for you? I know you're crazy, and I know I've fed your craziness, and I've turned you into this killer who now wants Frank dead no matter what. But why can't I be enough for you?" And that's what's really frustrating to me about this is, I'm not a therapist. I do not claim to be a therapist. I don't really know a whole lot about psychology. However, in my mind, Russo is a sociopath or psychopath. One of the two. I think sociopath is the one that's... Or no, psychopath is the one that's become that way because of their environment. And I do think Russo was turned into what he is this season because of his environment. What happened with Frank and the memories being lost and all of this stuff. I think it turned him into a psychopath. If that's the right terminology. So, the last thing you want to do is feed that psychopathic thoughts? God, I should I shouldn't be talking about this stuff without knowing the proper terminology. But I feel like that would be the last thing you want to do. If he has this idea that Frank is coming to get him and that he's got to prove he's better than Frank, feeding into that is going to make it even greater of a desire, so when Frank bests him and manages to escape, he's going to want to go after Frank. And yet she still is shocked whenever he has that idea that he wants to go after Frank. And of course she manages to talk him down from it. But I'm just like, oh my god, lady, you're supposed to be good at this stuff. And yet you're still surprised whenever it goes against you. I need to take a drink real quick. My god. Ugh. That's why you don't eat and do reviews, kids. Something starts scratching at your throat, you can't talk, eyes start watering, and you start to look like you're crying because of this show, and I'm not. Crying because my chicken is trying to kill me. Anyways, but yeah, I don't know, it really feels like I don't know, either she's that blinded by her desires and what she wants, or she's just not smart. Either way, it doesn't make for a good character, and I'm glad she's gone. Like I said, I don't care at all that she's dead. I'm happy that she's dead. It was a great way to end the episode. But aside from that, we get to see a bit more with Mahoney at the beginning of this episode. He's trying to take Frank in, and I was wondering what he meant by, you're not the only one that gets to be crazy. So he stole an ambulance, and he was taking Frank in with that ambulance, and that was his version of being crazy. I'm like, oh, you cute little puppy, you think this is crazy, stealing an ambulance to take a bad guy to jail? Oh, you're too kind for the show, Mahoney. You don't get it. But yeah, so then Pilgrim shows up, though, and knocks him off the bridge. I honestly thought for a second that Mahoney was gone, because the way that the front of the ambulance, crunched, I'm like, oh, that just, it looked like he pancaked in there. So, but he managed to survive, and then, Frank saves him, and then, of course, that kind of makes him go, okay, well, I won't shoot you, and I'll let you get away. One thing I am curious about, I don't remember when they had a chance to look at the pictures that Amy had, but it kind of seemed out of the blue that Frank all of a sudden was just like, you know what, now I'm going to go to the Schultz and then go and get him. And this is even before Pilgrim went and tried to go get Amy. So I don't know what really spurred that on that just made him go, you know what, I have this picture, I know who this is, I'm going to go get him now. It was just kind of, I don't know. It seemed out of the blue that all of a sudden he just decided to do this, even though Russo's the one that put him in the hospital. So I don't really know what was happening there. I guess my best guess is he had this idea because of the bounty put on him, and that bounty was put on him by Pilgrim, I believe. So I guess he decided he needed to take care of this before he could go and deal with Russo, possibly. But yeah, it just seemed a little odd that he was just all of a sudden like, all right, now let's deal with the Schultzes. We're done with Russo for a bit. And I'm like, wait, but you're not done with him. It's weird. And then, of course, the scene with Pilgrim and Curtis inside the trailer. Very good scene. Seeing Curtis try to just play everything off, but then, of course, Amy shows up at the wrong time. And then that fight scene was brutal. God, and watching him pick the pellets out of his leg from the shotgun was just... The makeup department on the show... Bravo. I've already talked about it, I think, a little bit when it comes to, the blood and the prosthetics that make their faces look like they've just been beaten to a pulp. I mean, that already looks crazy realistic, but that was... Ugh. That was gross. Just like, man, either they actually shot him in the leg or the special effects on the show are top-notch. So, but yeah, so obviously setting up for kind of a climactic thing where you've got Madani is in Dumont's apartment still, and Billy has seen her. Amy is going into Pilgrim's apartment with a shotgun, and then of course Frank has just figured out that it's David Schultz's parents that are actually kind of behind this whole thing. So he's going to go talk to them with Curtis in tow. And Mahoney, I don't know what he's going to do. He kind of had a little bit of a, I guess, see the light moment in this episode when he was like, okay, so maybe Frank is not the main threat here. But yeah, I don't know. It's setting up for a very exciting final episode, and I think it's time to watch it now. So, see you guys in the next episode in a second. Finally, episode 13, The Whirlwind. Season finale, series finale, and it's a good one. It's really a good one. Yeah, I mean, couple issues that I have with it. First of all, for Madani and Russo, how are they still alive? I mean, God, every single time Russo ended the scene, I'm just like, he's got to be dead, right? He's got to be dead, right? Even when Frank shot him at the end, I'm like, what, is he just going to disappear again? Because he just can't freaking die? Oh my gosh. Because he got shot 3 times, bleeding out, and then he just gets up and walks away, and even Mahoney's like, I think you killed him, he doesn't know it yet. Then he goes see a doctor guy that's he's not even actually a surgeon, he's more good with flesh wounds, who takes the bullets out without any anesthesia, and then Russo it looks like he dies, because he said, it's going to be too risky, because you might flinch and I could take out your liver. And then he looks like he's dead, so then he ends up in a trash can. Suddenly he wakes up in the trash can. I'm like, what? How much blood can you lose without dying? And then finally he's like, oh, I'm dying. I'm like, are you? Because it doesn't seem like you're going to. And then finally Frank finishes him off. So that was weird. And then also with Madani, it looks like Frank had choked her out and basically killed her. Suffocated her to death. And then she just wakes up a while later, even though Russo woke up and he didn't finish her off for some reason, and I don't know. And then on top of that, the worst part, Dumont didn't even die. Woo! She didn't die! She survived a 3-story fall onto hard concrete pavement. Woo! Which then gave me a chance to hear another one of her crazy speeches about how she loves Billy and how she's doing it all for love, and oh my gosh. Ugh. God. I mean, don't get me wrong. I understand that's the story, right? She's crazy. She fell in love with the crazy guy, and then she helped him because she's crazy. That's what they're going for. I'm not supposed to like her, but did you have to write her so obnoxious? Like, God. And again, this woman is very good about playing obnoxious characters. Maggie, super obnoxious. Dumont, even worse. Again, just that idea of, I've got the moral high ground, even though you're helping a psychopath kill people. So yeah, all of that was dumb. Curtis's decision to take David back, or basically let him go, called Mahoney, let him go. I get the idea. Curtis is trying to do something good. He's trying to do something right because he feels like he needs to make up for all of the stuff he's done to help Frank that he feels like wasn't a good decision. But here's the problem with that. You need to trade David to get the girl back. And luckily, Frank manages to get her safe anyway, but you put her life at risk by letting him go. Like, I get the fact you're trying to do something good, but also doing something good would be keeping him so Frank can trade him and get the girl back safely, right? So it just, I don't know, it seemed weird. And I also, on that same sort of note, the fight between Frank and John Pilgrim at the end, like, it was a good fight, and I knew it was going to end with a fight between them. But I don't know why they didn't come to this idea earlier, because, Pilgrim talked about how the Schultzes have his kids, which, makes sense why he's doing all of this. But I don't know why this conversation wasn't had earlier where it's like, well, hey, why don't I help you? Because, yeah, I mean, I'm sure Frank would love to take out these evil people that are using these kids to make him do all of this, to make him commit all of these evil crimes. Like, they're forcing him to do it. I'm just thinking, you should want to go after them rather than him, right? Like, why wasn't Frank's first thing like, hey, how about I help you? And I know Frank's not really one of those guys. It's like, yeah, I'm going to talk to you before we fight. No, he's more of a punch first, ask questions later. But still, from John's point of view, you've seen what Frank can do. Why would you risk getting into a fight with him that could possibly kill you and leave your kids without a dad, instead of just being like, hey, I'm realizing that I'm being forced to do this now, and I'd rather not lose my life and leave my kids without a parent. So, why don't we work together? And again, the climactic fight is fine, but an even better climactic fight would have been Frank and Pilgrim mowing through their compound, and if they have like a bunch of guards and stuff, mowing through all the guards and then getting to the parents. That would have been sick. But, for what we got, it wasn't bad. It's just something in my mind, I'm like, that could have been cooler, and it would have been more logical. But that, I guess this show isn't all... I mean, the main character's not really a logical person. He's more of a brute strength person. So, anyways. But yeah, so all in all, I mean, it was good build-up, good to see, at the end, the Schultzes get their comeuppance because, yeah, they're evil people. They did have a little scene between David and Curtis that talks a bit about, like, what his parents are doing and, prejudice and all of that. And I will admit, it's definitely done better than a lot of the other shows that I've seen it where it just beat you over the head with it. And again, it led to Curtis's decision to say, okay, I'll let you go because I want to do something good. But again, I do have to throw in there, it is funny to me, this, like, this show was made recently. The show was made within the past few years. Do people really still think that this would happen? Again, obviously the Schultzes think that way, and that's, them. But it's still kind of funny to me that it's like, why is he not openly, like, I feel like most people would wear that as a badge of honor. It's like, hey, I'm gay. Like, I feel like that would have been something of pride for Cinder. Again, I know it's not the Schultz's point of view, but from his point of view, like he's realizing in this episode, wait, my parents are ashamed of that part of me. Well, yeah, like, were you weren't being forced to hide it? Then why weren't you telling anyone? Why is this such a big secret? If you, I don't know, it just seemed kind of weird that he was making the connection that his parents didn't like that in this episode whenever he's being forced to keep this a secret by his parents. You know, like, I don't know, it's weird. It's weird to me that this is the first time he's realizing this. Maybe I missed something, but I don't know. I don't know. But yeah, anyways, all in all, I mean, good finale for it. Good chance for Frank to kind of step in and do the right thing in the end. He doesn't kill Pilgrim. He goes and kills the Schultzes instead, or, well, kills the wife because she tries to kill Amy, and then lets the dad kind of make that decision for himself, which of course he does because he's too proud to just see the truth. And then, helps Amy get to a safe place. And then at the end, we still see he's still the Punisher. He's still willing to take on whatever this was that he was doing at the end. I guess it was sort of like a gang war that was probably hurting innocent people, and so he steps in and finishes it himself. So that's the type of character he is, and I don't want him to change. And honestly, I hope that he comes back. After rewatching Daredevil season 3 and then this, I really hope they can incorporate these shows into the MCU somehow. There's already a lot of talk that Charlie Cox is going to be coming back as Matt Murdock in the Spider-Man movie. I really would love to see I would really love to see the Punisher. I would love to see this Punisher, this version of the Punisher, come into the MCU, because Jon Bernthal is a fantastic Punisher. He absolutely kills his performance. I don't know if they could be as brutal with it as they are in this show, because I think they could take some liberties since it's Netflix. But I want to see it. I want to see him evolve, because he's the type of character that you don't see in the MCU. Very brutal, very realistic, very grounded. And while I get that we're getting less grounded in the MCU now, we're going into multiverse and all of that stuff and more magic. So the Punisher may not fit in as well with that side of things, but also, we have a Hawkeye show coming up. We had Falcon and the Winter Soldier. Those shows are going to be a lot more grounded in reality, not as much magic involved. Maybe some science stuff, like the super soldiers, but nothing that's going to be like, WandaVision or Loki, where it's like way otherworldly and they can't handle the problem. So yeah, I would really like to see some of these Netflix shows come back in just a series of some sort, or if we get to see them just make some cameos here and there. I would love to see that, because these characters are so good, and Frank, even though he is a bit of a simple character, he's still compelling. The performance that he gives, Frank is not complicated. Like, he's a killer, and he's going to help people who are in trouble. He's not going to hurt innocent people, but he's willing to get the job done no matter what, even if it means getting his hands dirty. And that's basically it. But he's so compelling in the way he does it, because the performance, the acting, it just draws you in. And the fighting, the brutality of it, it really makes you feel like this is just, it's real. It's gritty. It's not afraid to get dirty. It's not afraid to let its, the main character, the hero of the show, not afraid to let him actually get beat, get beat up a little bit. Because sometimes you don't really see that. It's becoming more of a thing in the more recent history of movies, because it used to be where you just didn't see the hero lose. You didn't see them get beat very often. My dad often talks about, he's a huge James Bond fan. He talks about the difference between like Daniel Craig's Bond versus like, the old Sean Connery Bond. Connery, you didn't often see him get beat up, get looking all bloody and stuff. Daniel Craig, he does get hit. He does get shot. He does get blood on him because he's human. And that's what I kind of like about the Punisher. He's not this superhuman where it's like, oh yeah, I can just take any fight. No, he gets hit a lot. By the end of the fight, he often comes off looking worse than some of the people that he knocked out in one hit. So it's just so interesting to me, and he's such a good character to follow, even though he's not super complex, super deep, it's still compelling, and I love that about it. So yeah, I would love to see definitely the Punisher come back. Maybe a couple of these side characters as well, because a couple of them I thought were pretty interesting, like Madani. Um, Amy I thought was actually pretty interesting as well. She's can be stupid sometimes, like whenever she went in and got herself or captured because she went in even though Frank told her to stay back. Sometimes made some dumb decisions like that, but she's still, she's still a good character deep down. She's still a good person at heart, and she's just trying to help. She's just young and naive, but she's willing to take criticism. She's willing to try to learn. So I thought for a kid character in a show like this, sometimes they can be really annoying or they can be way too adult. I thought this was a good balance of like she's naive, she's young, but also she can learn. She can figure things out. She can follow Frank's orders from time to time. So yeah, all in all, it was a good season. If this is the end of the Punisher and we don't see him again in the form of John Bernthal, good way for this character to go out. And yeah, that's about it. So let me know what you guys think down in the comment section below. What were your thoughts on these 2 episodes and the season as a whole? Let me know. We can talk about it, discuss all that good stuff. Leave a like and subscribe for future Punisher reviews, and I'll see you guys in the next Marvel property. Jessica Jones is next, I think. Peace out.